Cynthia Linox show featuring vintage charm at 60 plus. Thank you for joining me today. I am your host, Cynthia Lennox, bringing you tips and nuggets regarding this whole season that I call your best season. Whatever season you're in, make it your best season to show up boldly with confidence and to live life on your own terms unapologetically. This is a season of fun. This is a season of adventure, of taking chances, seizing opportunities, and making it your best life. When I talk about everyone should go through or everyone should experience a journey of self discovery, people ask, what exactly do you mean? What is self discovery? What is a journey of self discovery? Now, let me preface that self discovery it's not a one size fits all. Your experience is unique. Why? Because you are a unique individual. So my experience is going to be different from yours, but we all have that place with little diamonds that reside on the inside of us. Now, it's not, you're not digging into a cave to discover stuff that are not there. You are discovering things, and what it is becoming consciously aware of your essence. What do you like? What don't you like? What are your colors? What are your fragrances? What behaviors will you tolerate? What things do you motivate you? What are your passions? How do you see life? How do you want to show up? Where do I get the courage from, the boldness, the confidence to show up and to display my fullness, the essence of who I am? You're going to discover a whole lot of stuff about you that's already there. It's already in you. You are already it. But sometimes it's clouded by, years of working in corporate America or raising a family, whatever it is. But now, this season of vintage charm, the kids are gone. They're all graduated from college and so forth. And you are about to embark on a journey of self discovery. Sometimes people arrive at this point not knowing who they are. And if they're married, it's like, look at the spouse and they're like, who are you? They don't know each other because they have dedicated 18, 20, 22 years of their lives raising a family. And if you're not conscious of the self, knowing who you are and loving yourself, you arrive at this season not knowing who you are. So when I say a journey of self-discovery, that is really what happened. Now, for me, of course, I spent many years in corporate America, and I learned a lot in corporate America. But it's after I left corporate America, I started really honing in on those details of who I am and the things that I like and what makes me happy and what are my passions and stuff like that. And I realized, I am a enthusiastic, excitable, vivacious. I am not your docile, quiet. No, I am very expressive. So my self-expression is sometimes out there. It comes up bold, and I say and do things that are sometimes unconventional because that's just the way I am. No offense to anyone or not hurting anyone, but just simply being who I am. And, you have to have the confidence to do that. It's interesting because talking about that and being audacious in my confidence, I remember it happened this year actually. Went to the dealership, the dealership where I purchased my vehicle, and I go every 2 weeks for a car wash and so forth. And back in January, or actually it was like when I got my new car last November or so, and I go there, and this is a beautiful facility. It's really nice. It's really upscale, and the showroom is really beautiful, and the lounge for the customers waiting for their cars to be serviced or whatever. It's really nice. Big screen TV. Then they have computer rooms where you can do work and so forth. And from last November, they had this soda machine. They have a soda machine, and then they have a Starbucks machine with all the choices you have, and then they have a big display. They have water there, and then bottled water, and then they have a huge counter with snacks and a lot of things that you can choose for while you're there. You can go there hungry, and of course, you'll be just snacking, a bunch of snacks. But they had this soda machine that was not working. So I went back again, and they had this big old sign that says out of order. So one of my little pet peeves is I don't like things that don't work. If you're gonna have something, whether it's a phone or a watch or something, it has to work. Otherwise, it's like, why even bother? If it needs a battery, put a battery. Yeah. So anyway, so they have this big soda machine, and it says out of order. So then I went back and back. Every 2 weeks. I take my car for cleaning, for a wash, and they had this, and it just kind of annoyed me because this big, it's a huge machine, and it has like 20 different options of soft drinks and so forth, iced tea and different soft drinks. And I just had it. So I said to the receptionist, I said, this machine you've had here out of order since November. Here we are in February, and it's still not working. I says, do you know how disrespectful that is? You have this big old sign that says, you have your customers waiting in the lounge, and this big old machine that says out of order. So I said that to her, nothing happened. When I went back 2 weeks later, there was one of the executives standing at her desk. And I said something like, I said, are you one of, then he said, yes, he's, I don't know, VP, whatever. I said, this machine in the lounge, I said, it's pretty disrespectful. You've had it out of order there for, I don't know how many months, but it doesn't really look good. Your lounge is beautiful. It's comfortable. And you have the coffee and the water and so forth. I says, it would be better to just remove it, replace it, get rid of it or something. But to have it there with a big old sign that says out of order, I think it's kind of disrespectful. And whoever is responsible for that, you really need to pay attention to that, because we are paying attention, your customers. So I just made that complaint or that observation really, and I left. So 2 weeks later, I went back, and guess what? The machine was gone. It was gone. It was removed. So I just chuckled, and I thought, oh, great. It was gone. But then there was this big old space where the machine was positioned, and you saw the pipes and the cords and electric cords and so forth. And it just looked so ugly. So I said, once you go there for service or whatever, they send you this text, and they're asking for feedback. So I said, of course, I always start with a compliment, because their showroom is immaculate, beautiful. The service, the people, everything, their service area, the car wash, everything is just so immaculate. So I pointed that out. I said, it's just great to come there. You can come there and sit and work, or just, be on your phone and so forth. I said, but you have this, in the lounge, you have this, you remove the soda machine, and you have this exposed area. I said, it looks like an unfinished basement. I said, what's that? So guess what? I went back 2 weeks later. They had this beautiful plant. It's called a snake plant, a huge pot of, tall snake plant. It looks so beautiful. I mean, so my point is this. First of all, yes, I know I could have minded my own business, but I helped them. And obviously that observation was helpful for them, because they made the changes. They first removed the machine, if they can, because when I had made the observation to the executive, he was saying, well, they ordered this part. I said, the customer, we don't care what all the details. No, the point is, the machine is there, and even if you wanted a soft drink, you can't have it because out of order. I said, that just doesn't look good. But then when I went back, and I said, so when they asked me for feedback again, I said, you guys are top notch. I said, it's a pleasure to sit in the lounge, because it's great surroundings and so forth. My point is, my friend, when you have that kind of assertiveness, and I didn't mean any harm. I wasn't unkind. I wasn't rude. But at the same time, I complimented them about their facility because it's really a top notch facility. So that's what I mean with knowing, having the assertiveness and knowing, bringing that out. For some people it was probably okay, but for me it wasn't. And just because in my mind I was doing them a favor, I was doing them a favor, and they obliged. So again, it's what's on the inside of you. What made me think that I could make that kind of suggestion to a huge corporation that sells, these luxury cars, and and think that I would just get away with it? And no, but they listen. And it's just how you were able to project that, how you can just project that. You have the assertiveness to do that. And you have that in you, in whatever situation, whether you're dealing with a situation with family members, your employer, your spouse, your kids, whatever. You have that in you. You set boundaries, you state your case, you are assertive enough to execute. And so now when I go back to the dealership, I am pleased to be sitting in that lounge. Actually, I generally go to the computer room and work and so forth. But it's just nice because I have to go by there, get a bottle of water and get some snacks maybe, and then I go to the computer room and so forth. But they that was a great observation. It's what I find with society is sometimes, uh, and this is my perception, sometimes they want to suppress, to to quench your passion, your whatever your personality is. Everybody wants you to act and behave based on the acceptable standard established by society, and if you don't do that, you're frowned upon. And I have issues with that. For me it felt stifling. Like, it just felt stifling, like, you're in a box, and you can't do this and you can't do that, and you cannot express yourself. It's like they suppress your self expression. Again, that is my perception, but try to do something out of the norm and you'll see. Here's another example. I was invited to this lunch. Uh, Women, about 25 ladies, very nice setting. It's like a fundraiser, and they have these lunches every month at different houses. And everyone brings something, and they really do it up and so forth. And then, there's wine and there's lunch and so forth. And after lunch, there is like they play domino. I don't know how to play. Well, not that I don't know. I'm not interested in domino, but that's the whole idea. And then you donate money that goes to a charity organization every month, and there is someone that's responsible for that. And so she collects the money, and these are all professional ladies, and some of them are professional home management, housewife and so forth, but with a lot of experience, and just really well, nice lady. So everyone take a dish. So I took a flan. You know what a flan is? A flan, Latin American flan, Spanish flan. And I happen to make the best flan. That's just my assessment of the flan. And people, they rave about my flan when they taste it. So after lunch, after everyone ate, we had dessert. And so I said, ladies, because I made this flan, you have to make it the day before because it has to set in the refrigerator overnight. So I said, I have the best flan you will ever taste. One of the ladies took offense to that statement. This is my first time there, but I am very sociable. I am not shy. I can really move around with new people and get to know them and so forth. And I'm very comfortable in any environment. So this person said something like, "Oh, well, that's great humility." And for a second, it caught me off guard because, I knew that I made the flan with such gusto so that I could share it with them and so forth. And I said, well, I said, no, I said, not humility. I said, this is just really the truth. Oh, she just really got a little huffy. And I said, you'll see, you'll see. So I proceeded to cut the flan and so forth. And I shared it with everyone, and they just loved the flan. Everybody was raving about the flan and raving about the flan and so forth. And I said, now you tell me this is not the best flan you have ever had. And everyone says, yes, this is great and so forth. Well, it wasn't about the flan. It was just about my self-expression that this person wanted to quench, to quench, to just suppress, to stifle that, and I, I didn't see it as bragging. I really believe it's the best flan, period. Now, if there was another flan there, if there was another uh, person that brought flan, I would not have said that because, that would be out of order. That's my own assessment. I would not have said that. But mine was the only flan. So I said, yeah, it's the best flan. And it, it was the whole idea that I was so bold to say it's the best flan. I don't know what, should I have said, I hope you like it. I did it. No, 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 no. I am excitable. I'm enthusiastic. I am bold and I am vibrant. And I said, as a matter of fact, I'm going to show you that flan. And you're going to salivate when you see that flan because it is absolutely delicious. Look at this. Look at this. Look at that. Look at that flan. Now you tell me, look at the caramel here. And, I topped it with the strawberries so that it would look nice and pretty. But this is all creamy. I am telling you, it is so creamy and it's delicious. Now that you have salivated over my flan, and I'm telling you, if anybody gets a chance to visit me or whatever, I will make sure that I give you that I make a flan so that you can taste it. As a matter of fact, this person that I know uh, always talking about my flan, and she had not tasted it, and I said, you know what, we're gonna do something this week or whatever. So I invited her to my home, and I had sushi and made a little thing just for her. But I also made a flan, and oh gosh, she tasted it, she loved it, she thought, oh, blah blah blah, and then her daughter came by and had some flan, and yes, it is the best flan. The thing is, if I was not assertive enough to say, no, it is the best flan that you would ever taste, and really stand in my own conviction, my own essence, my own personality, my own charm. If I had allowed that person to suppress and to just stifle my self-expression, that's just not me. And the same with you. There are things on the inside of you that you may be, you probably feel stifled in the environment that you are, or perhaps because of teaching and cultural programming and indoctrination and conditioning that you feel so stifled and you want to get out and express yourself with boldness and be assertive in everything that you do. But the notion of social uh, prejudices and limitations and so forth, that's what, when you discover who you are, you just get out of that and you be your true authentic self. That's the whole idea. It's to be your true authentic self. And that's just little stuff that I'm sharing, that has helped me in my assertive behaviors, my assertiveness in all situations. Another thing that I kind of have issues with, and this is just recently. You remember this whole tipping thing? As a matter of fact, a couple of weeks ago, I read this article that talks about people are getting fatigue, tipping fatigue. You remember before, I think before 9/11. No, not, I'm not sorry. Before COVID, tipping at a restaurant was just you made a decision and you tipped accordingly. You tip whatever you wanted to based on the service and based on the interaction, the energy, and so forth. But after COVID, of course, there's a lot of cashless and touchless and so forth. So now they have this monitor, this pad, and I wasn't, the first time it happened to me, we were at the baseball, and I wanted a drink, so we went to the to the station, to the counter, and I ordered a drink. My husband and I were there together, and so she makes the drink. Nice server, she was really nice, and she mixed the drink, and then she it's time to pay, and of course they were cashless, so you have to pay with a debit card, debit, credit card, whatever. So she had this. She shoved the pad over there right in front of me, and she said, you can choose from one of these, and then put your card in, and and one of those machines popped up. I have one here, and you tell me what you think about that and how it affects you. That's just one of my pet peeves, and I just look. Here's the machine. Here it is. Look, it says, "Would you like to leave a tip?" Total 32.65. Okay. Now they were starting at 18%. Remember, I only bought one drink. 18%, 20%, 25%. Custom tip, you know what that is. If you want to give 50% or 10% or no tip. So that's that. And they have that in every time you go to a restaurant, they that's kind of how you pay. Well, I was surprised. I was really caught off guard. That didn't set well. So there are a bunch of people standing behind me waiting to be served. And there are these, the server here and one over here and so forth. And, here I'm caught off guard. And it says, so I did 18%. I bought one drink and I clicked 18% and put my card in, and then I left. And then I said to my husband, I said, wow, that didn't feel good at all. I said, I was really caught off guard. It was almost intimidating. She did not intimidate me. I felt intimidated by the whole experience. And I said, boy, that's something. I won't be caught in that again. Because it didn't set well with me. So in my mind now, I am ready for the next experience, the next opportunity with someone pushing that machine in front of me. So I went and it's not a matter of tipping, because as a matter of fact, she deserved a good tip, because the server, she was very pleasant, and she fixed a nice drink and so forth. So I didn't have any issues giving her a tip. I would have given her a tip anyway. It's just that machine is, doesn't give you, just puts it in front of you and, like choose whatever. And I didn't want to do no tip, because I would have tipped anyway. So a couple of weeks later, I went myself to a yogurt bar. Those yogurt bar, those self-serve yogurt bar, where you go in, you get a cup, and you serve yourself. You choose the flavor. There are like, 15 different flavors, and you choose and you serve yourself. And then you put the toppings. You choose the toppings, and then, it has a certain weight, and then you go to the counter and you pay. So I get to the counter, and again, there's this machine. there's this machine asking for tip. And I'm like, wait a minute. I went in, I got the cup, I served myself, I put my toppings, and I'm paying, and they're asking for tip. And in that occasion, I did no tip, but I said it verbally. I said no tip. What's my total? And of course, it was $10.95, something like that, $10.95. And I just paid $10.95, $11, and I waited for my change, 5 cents. And I guess I was a little miffed, because it's that machine. It's almost like it's meant to intimidate you. And mind you, some people aren't. I've talked to some people that are intimidated by it, and On occasion when they didn't plan to give a tip, they wind up giving a big tip because that machine it catches you off guard. So I didn't give a tip. So now, like if we go to a nice restaurant, then of course you go prepared. If you go to a an upscale restaurant and your bill is whatever $99, you are prepared to tip. And even so, we don't like when my husband gives the card, the debit card to pay, we never include tip on the receipt. We don't add tip to the total. We always have enough cash so that we can give them tip, because I don't know how it works, but in my mind, if you give them cash, that really belongs to them or whatever. I don't know if they have to share it, whatever. The point is, we prefer to give a cash tip. This way, our bill is simply for the meal and drinks and so forth. So anyway, so that's another thing. But you have got to be assertive enough to do that. All those qualities, all those things are in you, are within you. You have that within you. You don't have to go looking. You don't have to, you don't, it's all. So you will discover that about you, and that you have the ability to say no when you mean no, and not be intimidated or forced to say yes when somebody asks you to do something. Do you get that sometimes? I mean, think about it. Sometimes, somebody asks you to do things, or they may say, well, let's have dinner this day or whatever, but to say no, it's difficult for some people. And then if they say no, they're adding a whole list of explanation. You can say no with just no. Just no. No is understood in just about any language. No, no, rien, no. It's understood in the language. And you just now, if I have a friend, and it all depends on the person, how close they are in your circle, and I would say, well, no, you know what? That day is not good for me because I'm involved in so and so and so. You can have that kind of conversation. But if it's someone that's not close to you, no is good enough. And you can just say, no, that date doesn't work for me, or no, that's not going to work for me. That's it, period. End of story. And be assertive enough to say that. Vintage charm, I am telling you, especially during this season, sometimes we feel, I hear people complaining about they're invisible. No, you are not invisible. You are invisible to yourself, maybe, but you are not invisible. Make your voice be heard and your presence be known. And you don't even have to open your mouth. You just go in and your energy will announce your presence. Your energy will announce your presence. It's who you are. You just have to have a conscious awareness of that. It's who you are. And you will see the moment you start. I'm telling you, I tell a lot of my friends, confidence is the new sexy, whether you're male or female. Somebody that shows up with confidence is, it's an attractive characteristic. So don't be intimidated. That's why I say, get rid of all the traditional. Now, of course, some traditional values are good, and I determine what they are for me. When you think of the marriage vows, let's take that as an example. When we got married, we didn't go through that traditional marriage vows for some reason. And, I was not, that time, I was not even going to do this self-discovery whole experience. No, it just didn't set right. Just think of it. As a matter of fact, this morning I watched a program, a lady that was talking about abuse and so forth. But think of it. For better, for worse. That's part of the marriage vows. And it's interesting because, I didn't plan to share this, but this morning they featured on, it wasn't a documentary, it was like an interview of this lady. She has this shelter for women that are, or people, well, she referenced women that are abused and go through domestic violence and so forth. And she said, Well, the reason she started this organization is because of her own experience. And she said that, it started with verbal abuse. Imagine that. The person that you marry in love, I'm assuming because, I was in love when I got married and still am. But she said it started with verbal abuse, and then it got violent, and then it got really ugly. And she has a little daughter, and she said she did not want to leave because of her marriage vows. Imagine that. For better, for worse. Now I can understand for better, but for worse, that'll never happen. What if it turns out to be an abusive relationship, an abusive marriage where there's domestic violence? Are you I am not about to honor that. And I do not assume that you will honor that. Think about it. Have you think about it? As a matter of fact, when people ask me, like when I coach and people ask me about, things like that, I said no. As a matter of fact, I don't think there should be any vows at all. I don't believe in those kind of vows because people get into relationships and things changes, and one may outgrow the other, and just things, and people get divorced, separated, and so forth. So I don't believe in any kind of vows. The only thing that for me in a marriage is respect. The love thing, yes, I love my husband. Actually, I adore my husband. We love each other, and we really are our best fans and so forth. But for us is respect. We don't go around calling each other like, we don't use words like stupid and you're an idiot and you're silly, and no, ever. We have never, we just don't do that because first of all, he's not the kind of guy that you can say, you're stupid. That would be, that just wouldn't go over. Not with my husband, and certainly not with me. So we respect each other that way. We do. We respect each other that way. It's that simple. So this, for better for worse, think of it. And that, again, that is a social cultural construct. Somebody made that up. For better for worse, for richer for poor. What if the guy becomes lazy and doesn't want to work? I mean, you know, that's crazy. Think about it. That's why a lot of couples today are writing their own vows. As I said, I don't think there should be any kind of vows. I promise to do this. No, no, no. I promise to love you. And how many people have you seen that have gotten divorced after making such promises, such vows? Nobody honors that. Nobody thinks about that. No. This same lady, even though she said she stayed because of her marital vows and the commitment to her vows, and because she had a kid and so forth, whatever. But then when it got really bad, like violent, physical abuse and so forth, she knew she had to leave because she sensed that she could have been killed. Imagine that. Imagine that. But she, for the first few years, she tolerated that. She tolerated the abuse, the versatile. I cannot even think of someone calling me ill names because that just doesn't, or me calling someone else. That just, that's just not right. So the point is this: for better, for worse. That is a social construct. It's a cultural conditioning. And when somebody's going to get married, if they're not aware, if they're not consciously aware of who they are and what they expect and what standards and limitations and what barriers and to set up in their own lives, they'll just do that because most um, wedding officiants, that's like their basic uh, vow thing, their basic message for couples, unless the couple have their own. Some couples they write their own and so forth, but for better for worse, I so we didn't do any of that. I do not subscribe to that thought process at all. So These are the things that you become aware of, things that you won't tolerate, things that you will not allow to to rule your life, to be guided by, to be influenced by. One of the things, there's another thing before we even wrap this up. I want to share this with you. During this season, there are a lot of things that happen. Whether you take care of yourself or not, things can happen. And I'm talking about your health. Now, you've heard it said, uh, uh, like if you come up with some kind of ailment or something, and you go to the doctor, and in most cases, they want to say, or they tell you, it's an age related disease. Now, I know what that means. I know that after many years of wear and tear, you may have situations that show up that so forth. Just like in a house, you have to constantly do repair and all that. But you don't have to buy into that. I have not bought into that at all. And as a result, I make sure that my doctor understands my thinking process. My doctor, I had this doctor, she left the region and went someplace else. And so I got this other doctor. And, every year you have a physical, or every 6 months, I think every 6 months, whatever. The point is, this was a new doctor, and I read the reviews, and the reviews were okay, and it was a 4 point something, and I because it's close proximity to where I live and so forth, and that particular doctor, of the choices I had, I chose this female doctor, and so I go the week before, get my lab work, and then I show up the following week to meet her and so forth. And so she checks the lab, but before that, she's asking me all these questions like, how are you doing? What do you do? Do you work out? Do you do this? Do you do that? And then they had this round uh, circle on a paper, and she tells me to draw a clock. Oh, that was just crazy. To draw a clock and to show the time like 10 after 10 or something like that. And then she gives me like these she says, anyway, she wants to check my cognitive skills and so forth. Put me through all that. So I was fine. Then she said, well, you fine? Do is anything hurt? This, that. Then I said, no, I'm fine. I said, I try to walk every day and so forth. And and then she wants to check my mind. She asked me if I get depressed and so forth. And I said, no. I said, I'm not given to depression or anxiety. I said, I'm pretty positive and optimistic and so forth. I just share that with her. She says, you mean nothing hurts? I said, no. And she was almost wanting me to think of something, to look for something, to think of something. And I just couldn't. And so she said, now she started reviewing my lab test, and she said, this is good, this is good, this is good. My cholesterol was a little bit elevated, and not in a danger zone, but just not meeting the standard. And she says, and I want you to take this, and you take it every day and so forth. And I said, well, is there something else we can do? Can I, is there something I can do to mitigate this rise in the, in the numbers? Perhaps I can change my diet, get rid of the whatever, and to bring it down. She said, no, you're going to take this. She did not even want a dialogue with me. Imagine that. And that just doesn't work, because I do a lot of research. When I go to my doctor, it's to have a conversation. It's not for them to tell me, this is my body, this is me, this is, so I said, I said, fine. And I left her office, and that was the last time she ever saw me. She called in the prescription, and then her office called to follow up. Did I get it? It shows that I didn't pick up the prescription and whatever. I said, no, you could just take me off her roster, because I will not be back. And I just dismissed her, because that's not the way it works. That is not the way it works. So I went online to find another doctor, and I went through the whole reviews and so forth, and I went and I met this doctor, which I absolutely adore. The thing is this: when I walked into her office, I could sense that that element of respect. She was there to listen to me. She was not there to make friends. She was there to listen to me and my concerns and to get to know me. The energy was so great. It was just so great. And she asked me, about my whole medical history and so forth. And we had a great dialogue. 6 months later, I went back for another physical and whatever, of course, there's the lab and so forth. And, after she discussed all of that and so forth, and I talked to her, we were talking about this cholesterol thing and whatever. And she said, well, you could do this and do that and so forth. And we sat there and chat. And she asked me about me, what am I doing? And, I told her about this show, or I told her about first when I left corporate America, how I, took on life coach and so forth. And then she started recommending podcasts for me to listen to and so forth. Just a great interaction. So when I go there now, it's like, I just had my physical not too long ago, and she goes through and she gets happy to read me my lab work. And she's like, oh, this is great. This is great. This is great. And we just sit and we chat for a few minutes. Not a long time, because, but we sat and chat, and it was great. My point is, when you have to respect yourself to know your body and to have an idea as to what you can do, and not let the doctor, of course, if there are certain issues that has to be addressed and certain things you need their expertise and so forth, but they need to understand that you are proactive in your health situation. You are proactive because you have self-respect. So they can't just, and if they tell you this and that and whatever, you need to ask questions. Challenge everything. Ask questions. Ask questions. And that is, you start evolving into a different person, strong and confident and assertive, having the courage to execute, and not like, like wishy-washy. No, you ask, and you are firm. You first, you educate yourself. You know what's going on. You look stuff up. You read it. You check different, sources to find out about yourself, and you'll see. And when you do that, people will respect you, because they know that you are well informed and that you're assertive in your whole essence, your whole DNA. So a journey of self-discovery is to discover who you are. Like, you can't, if you take me to the store to shop, you can't take me and buy me a blue dress or a gray dress. No, why? Because those are not my colors. I may try it if it looks good there, but that's not, no, you need to look for mustard, yellow, orange, gold, black. I know my colors. You can't bring me fragrances that smell like lemon or citrus, anything. That's not my scent, my fragrance, or flowery stuff. No, get me sandalwood and, the earth fragrance scents and things of that nature. You get to discover your style, your flow, your swag. It's in you. Bring it out. Don't let anyone suppress it. Don't let anyone stifle you. Don't let this whole social, cultural, and societal influence stifle you, because it just, you will just submit to that type of influence and not really flourish to have a meaningful life and to live a fulfilled life, which is what you are created, which is why you're here, to have pleasure, to be kind to others, to discover what you like. See, I love doing this. I like coming to you every week. I like, and just chatting. I like this. And I discovered this whole means for me to stream so that you can 24/7 pick it up. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, you can pick up the broadcast and be encouraged. And I know you'll be encouraged because chatting with you it's such a joy because I know I'm helping you, and when I hear me, it also helps me remind me, and I grow from it. It's like self-development, self growth. You grow from it. So remember, it's already in you. You're not digging into a cave looking for stuff that's not there. You already have it. You just have to bring it out. First, acknowledge that you have the power to change it, and you have the ability to change it, and to flourish and to burst out of that box, of that stifling feeling of being quelled, and not being able to self express who you are. People always try to change. Why don't you do this? Or why don't you do that? Or why don't you be like this? Or why don't you be like that? No, you be who you are. But then you have to know who you are in order to be who you are. That's a lot of fantastically thing. I just coined the word. Thank you for joining me today. Again, take a moment to go on this journey of self-discovery, to get to know you. You are the best person you could ever know. And if you want to drop me a note, an email, a suggestion, or a question that you may have, go to my website. It's cynthialinox.com. Scroll to the bottom and there's a box, just type it in. You don't even have to figure out the email address, but for those of you that may want that, it's info@thecynthialinoxshow.com. Other than that, just go to my website, cynthialinox.com, and send me an email if you have a question and so forth. And as I shared before, at some point I'm going to have guests, but I want to have guests like you, vintage charm at 60 plus, so that you can share the magnificent experiences that you're having in this season. You can share with us what you have done and how it's working for you, and encourage others. So keep that in mind if you think that you may want to share your life experience and how it's working for you. So until we meet again next week, same time, same place, I'm going to say ta-ta, and trust you will have a great weekend, and discovering who you are and what works for you. So until then, I say ciao, ta-ta, au revoir, hasta luego, amigos, hasta la próxima semana. Get you much. Ciao.